Testing, testing, testing. JB here, JB here. Hope everybody's doing outstanding. June 25th, 2019. Going to talk really quick. Of course, allergen. You see the news this morning. Rather be lucky than good, right? Is that the saying? Whatever the saying is, I mean, as much as you want to say I was trying to trade allergen for a buyout, that was certainly not the case. They have a lot of assets they could have spun off, some kind of divestiture. I'm not sure which audio I had on there, but I've went on rants before. It's certainly a turd. They have lots of debt. There's competitive concerns. So it's not a name that you look at and say, wow, it's a huge growth story. The stock's going to $300. No, this is kind of almost a rescue sale. So just got lucky. And I saw it this morning, and I forget the lady from Wall Street Journal, she posted, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, oh my God, it's allergen. And, ironically enough, I probably wouldn't have added the 145s if it didn't go on a tear last week. And, of course, it's Tuesday. Why couldn't this happen on Friday? Well, actually, Friday would have been the same. But if it happened last Wednesday, if I had the 125s, would have been a lot sweeter here. So for now, I have those July 145s, 60 cents. Here it is, about 170. So you have to figure, I don't know how much premium will be in there. You have some analysts are saying there might be a bidding war, which I don't really believe. Then you have the other concern that you have Abby's stock is lower, and so it's only $120 of the buyout is cash. The rest is in the stock valuation. So as that drops, the buyout price goes lower. So it's probably going to stay around 170 to 175, unless there's some other crazy news that there's some other bidder in this process, which I'd find it hard to believe. So interesting enough, we'll have to see how this plays out. I'll probably lock most or all of them right at the open. Makes no sense to try and play another couple bucks on this move, right? So that's allergen. Some of these moves, it's crazy. You trade options, and one day, 1 week, 1 month can make your entire year or a couple years. It's just the nature of how options trade. Similar. I think it was 5 years ago, around June 12th or 13th. I was sitting on Open Table calls. So Open Table is the booking reservation service for folks. A lot of people haven't even used it before, but I use it a lot, so I kind of had a pretty good idea of what it does, and the business is trying to disrupt, which is people having to go through the aggravation of calling a restaurant to try and book your reservation, and then all you do is it's on the app, and then the app rewards you. And I used to talk about the points and how it was like 1,000 points is really $1. Sorry about that, folks. So you would have a no, that's my pump. So you have a 5,000 point restaurant, and that'd be $5. And you look at your bill, and you're going to go spend $150 at a restaurant, and $5 is, you think of this in the whole scheme of things, it's not a big deal, but it keeps you back into that ecosystem of Open Table. So similar story here. I was sitting on Open Table into the Apple event, so the iOS, there were a developer conference where they're going to talk about, all these different apps that were going on there, and Open Table was spoke about. So I thought there was going to be some kind of bid on the name. And what happened, the stock actually sold off for the next couple of weeks, and my options were bidless. And then, which prevented me from being able to close them out, and I got lucky with the Open Table buyout. So, they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So, I've been trading allergen for quite some time. Don't have to trade it anymore after this buyout, which is a good thing. I won't be looking at it and trying to buy calls, so I kind of got lucky there. So that's allergen. Grubhub, huge upgrade this morning from Citigroup. May, which sometimes I don't agree with this analyst calls in terms of his analyst changes, but he's been bearish a little bit sometimes on some of the names that I've been bullish on, but comes out with a bullish call here on Grub, talking about a couple different avenues that he thinks the stock is undervalued. Took it from neutral to buy, raised the price target from 75 to 91, went all the way up to 76 and change in the pre-market. Still have my 90 July strikes. I'll probably look for some other calls here, and of course there's another name I think could possibly have some M&A rumors. There's been rumors for quite some time anyway, but it's a competitive space. You had news this morning, I think from the New York Times, one of these publications, talking about the possibility that, actually they settled some kind of spat with some restaurants saying they overcharged for fees, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Great story. So I continue to look that to play for probably move into the 90s, if not near 100 in the coming months. So I'll probably look possibly for August strikes or what have you. So that's that. That's Grub. Uh, Ulta and UNH. Not much to say there. You take a look at Ulta and Deep nailed this right at the open yesterday. You had Amazon coming out with their professional beauty line. You have to, I guess, you have to have a license, sign up. You have to sign up at Amazon, send in your license to Amazon, and then you have the ability to be a professional, to access the professional beauty line. Probably not as big a catalyst for downside as from Ulta as it is for some of these other names in the space. Sally, who are the other names? See, I don't trade the other ones. Sally Beauty, um, Elf, right? But I still think if you take a look at the chart, that 345 area is certainly a spot where you look at it and say, wow, if it doesn't hold 345, which it didn't yesterday, but then it came back up to 345. If it doesn't hold that area today, I think it sets up for a move down to under 330. So I'll probably look for some other opportunities to play for downside if it breaks that 345 this morning. UNH, and there's some chatter. I think the biotech space, especially with pharmaceuticals and drugs, drug pricing, and all those concerns, coverages, Medicare, blah blah blah. All these things are going to come to a head as this political rhetoric conversation as we head into the 2020 election. I don't think all these conversations are going to be bullish, right? So if you take a look at, we have Democratic debates, and they're totally on the other side of some of these other, stocks that have been on tears. It's certainly not beneficial if some of these changes ever came to fruition. It's similar to what's going on with, the student loan crisis has been going on for years. It's not like it just cropped up yesterday or last week or whatever. And that's why I used to never like these for-profit college programs like Phoenix Online and all these other ones, because they're predatory. And you take a look at these systems, it's like these kids come out of high school and maybe they're not able to afford one of the bigger schools, and then they go to, they work at, some place, and then they go to say, hey, I need an education to get these better jobs, and what's the easiest way to do it? Online. And they allow such easy access to these loans. The next thing you know, you're 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in debt on loans that, it's just crazy stuff. It's a whole system that, another system, something's got to change there, but it's a supply demand. So there's a lot of demand for education, and there's supply there for the education. So until there's a shift in that system, nothing's going to change. And I'm not really a big fan of regulation. So for me, you hate to see bad things happen to make the shift from in this debt situation with student loans. But I don't know. I'm not going to talk my views on that stuff, but certainly another situation where there's going to be a lot of talk, and you start looking at these for-profit education companies that have just been on tears, and these are names I used to look at back in the day. STRA, I think, is one. You have to start thinking these are going to start coming under pressure as well. So I'm not going to sit there and try and time these. STRA doesn't have a lot of volume, but the stock, I think, was $30. I have to go look at some of these charts, but those are certainly some of the names as well that I think, as these conversations continue to steal headlines, that even if this never comes to fruition, I think there's some meat on the bones that are to play. So similar in the healthcare space, UNH, even if there's no more chatter this week, I still think it has a possibility to come down and test that 50-day moving average. So I'll continue to hold those puts. And as a hedge as well, if the market finds some weakness, I'll be, I think those will pull down just regardless of what the market does. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and talk about gold. Once it was over 1370, I haven't traded it for downside in quite some bit. Quite some time. Quite some bit doesn't work out. You have, Bitcoin's going on a craze. I think people are looking at this. You would think the environment, and people make arguments back in 2008 and 2009, was that the big concern was inflation, right? We're going to have runaway inflation. This is the best time to buy gold. You see those gold commercials, with, inflation at all-time highs, blah, blah, blah. And then you look, and it's like we have inflation's non-existent. So the argument to own gold as a hedge against inflation is not there. The concern, of course, is that these central banks are flooding the market with liquidity, and if that's the case, it devalues a lot of these currencies, and then what does it do? It makes the gold, which is pretty much just price based, right? The only value of gold, I guess you can use it in other products, but the value of gold is what people are willing to pay for it. Similar, obviously, what stocks are. So right now, people are willing to pay more for gold. maybe I think 2015 it was 1800 or so. So if it broke over there meaningfully, then I guess you can make the case there that it's going to go parabolic. But for now, I just kind of sit on my hands and I'll wait. And the dollar's only down. Was it 96 and change right now? So people are just looking for opportunities to find things that they think can appreciate in value. And so with the Fed and all these other central banks pushing people into stocks and other high risk assets, they're looking for other ones that might have opportunity for return on their investment. Some of the reason why I think it's a small fraction of the reason that Bitcoin's going crazy, but I think that's the reason people look at gold and say, wow, I think the risk reward is there now that you take a look at what the central banks are doing, and probably a lot of the reason why it's going crazy. So anyway, folks, I'll be back. Let's have a great day. 5 minutes to open. Rock and roll.